in my situation because I had struggled because I'm dyslexic, and that's a part of my reality. When I got to that first day at school, have you ever been in that place where you're in the room and you think you're the only one that was the mistake in the room? Because you look around and you see out of your eyes, everyone else is qualified, but you must be the one that they just let in. And because I didn't tell them I was dyslexic, so that was another fear. And then to attend that school, you go through these 4-hour written exams. And I had my first 4-hour written exam, and it took me 4 hours to read the exam. So I literally handed in 2 lines on the typewriter. At the time, it was a typewriter. And turned it in. My point is that there were so many times during that 2-year period that I would talk myself into, talk myself out of, talk myself into, talk myself out of. However, what I learned there, which was critical for me, is the ability to ask for help. And I learned that people hate to ask for help, but people love to give you help if you allow them to give you help. And there was one teacher who took me to the side, and it was a finance professor, so you have tough time reading, you have a harder time with math. And then he sat down with me and he pulled me into his room and said, you're very, very smart. And so he worked with me and he worked with me and he worked with me. And they worked with me for me to complete. And then it was maybe 10 or 15 years later, they brought me back into this classroom at Harvard. And they did a case study on Mary Kay Cosmetics. And then they did a case study on me, and it's called Gloria Mayfield at Mary Kay Cosmetics. And after they did this 90-minute review class, they said, we'd like to introduce you to the woman we've been talking about for the last 90 minutes. And I want you guys to know that when she comes down front, she has probably and will probably make more money and be more successful than the majority of you in this room. So it was a full circle moment of feeling like I didn't belong. So then I became the person who allowed people to go to Harvard Business School. And I became the Black woman who also stood up for us in the room. And so my statement also to you is, even when you're in a place where you don't feel you belong at the time, sometimes you're brought back to allow other people to get into that room when you were almost shut out of the room.